Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast. Man, have I been waiting for this episode. When I say I learn every single time I step foot into the studio, I learn so many different variables coming at me, but I learn and try to suppress them in my tiny little brain as quickly as I can. But the gentleman that is joining me today is somebody special, mentor-wise to me, but you guys have seen me push hard into the digital marketing space. I'm sitting here doing podcasts, I'm doing this YouTube, and a man that knows probably just about everything there needs to know about digital marketing analytics is sitting across the table from me and is the founder and owner of this beautiful podcast, videos.com studio that we are sitting in today. And actually a client of mine as well, but founder of the digital marketing space, WhyteSpider, essentially. But the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Eric Howerton.
Yay, man, I feel fantastic, man. This is great.
A couple of things.
I'm gonna clip this shit out and put it on my LinkedIn.
A couple of topics we're talking about today. As you guys can tell, we've got quite a relationship outside of here. I'm very excited for this podcast to be a little bit looser on the format with you guys, but a couple of topics we're going to definitely cover today, and the man talk about it is here with us. Bridging the gap between the office, basically between ops and admin would be in y'all's world, exploring how blue-collar workers can think like an owner. It's a huge thing. Master communication across all roles, leverage transferable skills, and overcoming funding hurdles on their path to business ownership. Couple of topics we're talking today, but man, how are you?
Great.
Dude, thank you for being here, man.
It's an honor, honestly. I mean, it really is.
Don't even.
No, man, bro, for real. Like, I mean, I respect so much about your listeners, about what your show's intent is. I mean, it's what makes America great, man. I mean, just straight up. Even though I did notice on your, I did notice in your logo, what's the Canadian leaf doing on there, man?
I mean, dude, showing the heritage to from where I'm from. And actually, you know what's funny is that this specific logo right here, you mentioned LinkedIn, I had a guy reach out to me while I was in Canada a couple weeks ago. He said, "Hey man, love the show, love everything it's about. Funnily enough, we have some major similarities. I'm from Toronto as well. I moved to Northwest Arkansas.
Really?
I'm redheaded, and I do dirt work." And he's an ops manager for another dirt work company.
Oh, no doubt.
And I'm like, it was funnily enough, I was sitting there in Tim Hortons, and I took a picture of the Timbits. I'm like, hey, does this remind you of your childhood? And had a good laugh, but we're going to bring him on the show and talk with him a little bit. But that's the little maple leaf. We've got some Canadian listeners. Francis Beau, shout out, in Quebec. He lays heavy civil construction and listens to the show. We've got quite a few Canadian listeners, honestly.
Awesome,
it's kind of cool. So I'm glad they put it in there.
I mean, it looks cool, dude. It's just subliminal. I didn't notice it at first.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. Not when I've seen the logo. I just, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're not doing a show about your logo, but it is cool. No, I appreciate the intro, man. I'm actually it's, I hope that our conversation can help some folks and help people be more successul.
Man, I kind of talked highly on the digital marketing space. How long you been in the digital marketing world?
Man, I mean, the funny thing, and this is like just in humility, it's actually accidental that, I have recognized about 2 or 3 years ago, like I am literally a veteran in the digital space, only because I just happen to be of a old enough age, and at 24, whatever, when digital really started coming out, which would be in 2000s, right?
Yep.
So 24 years ago, and I just happened to be around that age and got into it at the time, and then have been in it since. So I mean, it's like I've seen,
Not just in it though, dude. You were pioneering.
Well, in some regards, like, and I would say that we were pioneering certain markets within the digital age, right? I mean, because like, my first business was a magazine publishing business. Like I was,
Didn't know that actually.
Yeah, I was 22 and I did a magazine about outdoor Arkansas, and it was all about print, high quality gloss print, and so I knew that stuff really well. And but then, when we were doing that in like 2000, 2001, that's really when people started saying, well, you need to have a website, like to any business, right?
Yep.
And so, really started getting into digital then. But I mean, it's as I kind of got more into the digital aspect and e-commerce started growing, like we just kind of follow the trends. People are buying online, the people are doing articles and blogging, there's content online, and yeah, I mean, and all that stuff. We just, I just noticed that, e-commerce, it's not like we pioneered e-commerce. We just were participating really early on with e-commerce. And then we saw in like larger e-com with the Walmart.com and how the traditional brick and mortar businesses were having a hard time transitioning into the e-com world because they're shipping big pallets, and that's their business. And we just, we helped to pioneer, I guess, that industry, that sector, to understand the value of the digital experience when it comes to customer shopping.
Shout out to the Dirt World. Little statistic to throw at you that I wasn't there, but I've had several people reach out to me while they were there during this speaker. 82%, I don't know if you agree with this or not, 82% of web traffic is now video. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That is it. Like, that's an astonishing number. Like, why would you even put anything else onto the internet but video if you knew that? You know what I mean? And these guys, if they haven't started, where do they start?
Oh, man, I mean, just start with your phone. I mean, get on it. I mean, like, it's, the thing about it is like we can, in the digital realm, it can get really complicated really quick. And as it should. It's just like, I mean, respect for what you do, right? I mean, like, yes, I do have a skid steer.
Skiddy.
Oh, skiddy.
And mini.
An
old trailer, and yeah.
But man, when I get out the, and it's seemingly, yes, I can pick up the same amount of dirt that your skid steer can potentially, but the polishing, the finessing, like grading and all these other things that come in, it gets really complex really quick.
And then add speed on top of it.
And speed, yeah, and efficiency and know-how and all these mistakes, But like if I was trying to be an expert like you were, the second I bought my skid steer, I'm going to live in a very frustrating environment, and I might sell the damn thing and just not even get it. But I've just lost all that opportunity for me not have to call you every damn time I need,
it's
need a piece
cool
of dirt.
when your client's got a skiddy, you know what I mean?
I mean, hey,
finishing up a project, he's like, I'll get it with the old skiddy,
I have used it as leverage. Like, don't make me bring my old skid steer out here, son. I've done that many times with you, and it is always kind of comical because I obviously wouldn't do. I could do a worse job than helping myself. But it's the same kind of principle, I mean, like, but at the same time, if you get your camera and you just start playing with it, you'll start learning over time. Give yourself be patient with yourself. But the big principle is like what you're talking about is you got to start acting, you got to start publishing, you got to start leading in, and how can you use video, to help tell your story is really what all it comes down to. You
have to though. But I mean, marketing yourself, like, I get it, guys. I was literally 7 years in when I was like, maybe we should start marketing. And I just literally did exactly what you're talking about. I turned my phone sideways and was that weird guy on a job site, starting waving my phone around. What are you doing, man? And then I'd put a video together and I'd throw it on YouTube. And the other thing about YouTube that I probably haven't expressed as much, but a gentleman told me that if you could go in your hometown right now and buy every single piece of real estate for free, would you do it? Well, yeah. Of course you would. Every man on the planet would. Well, why are you not thinking about the same thing as digital space on YouTube? It is literally digital real estate sitting there for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And hey, it will start producing revenue. I assure you, if you keep up the consistency. But that's not really. Go ahead.
Well, I have a statistic for you too. I was doing some research a few weeks ago, looking at advertising, media buying, placement, and like there's everything going into television, broadcasting, print, and all these different mediums that you can pay to have an advertisement in. And one big thing that is just kind of a reiteration. It's kind of obvious to most of us, but the majority of all ad money is now being placed in digital.
Influencer marketing.
Yeah, the whole social media marketing, all LinkedIn to whatever else, all these things.
I missed the boat on that.
So there's got that big old bubble there. Well, but then when you start peeling that back, what I found was really interesting is that YouTube advertising, so advertisements on YouTube videos, right? Like not meaning video creation, but people
the skip ads.
Yeah, the people that are putting their money in ads on the YouTube section or in the YouTube channel grew by 90% in 2020. 90.
Oh,
like
my
just
God.
A massive hockey stick of people placing dollars in that channel. And that was because of COVID. Then it starts, but here's the thing is that the growth continued the next year, only like by 8% or something like that. I don't want to be, definitive on that, but it was,
Fact check him, guys.
Yeah, please. Yeah, and send something in if I'm wrong, Let's have a digital argument, and that'd be great. But the thing is like it grew substantially, and then it just kind of stayed with whatever, the rest of the market was doing. But my point to that is that what that means is what COVID really helped to do is it expedited and accelerated the normal usage of the mass population of consumption of video as content. And so now since that time, if you notice, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all these social channels, and they're leveraging of the video content as its source or as a predominant player of how their users are consuming information. That has changed forever.
Drastically.
And yes, drastically, immediately, and forevermore on the video
nuts,
stuff.
Dude. The video stuff. And like what we're doing, you've encouraged it. I literally saw a LinkedIn post last night, and it was a guy just walking across a job site looking to loader, and the title was "Commercial Construction Needs the Story Told."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And not just from a glitz and glam aspect, talk about the business side of it. And that's what we're officially here to do today, is talk more about the business side of it, and nobody better to do it with. And I know it's have a little frustration with the construction industry, just slightly. And he's shared them, and they're all valid points, I've got to say. First point of the day, how blue-collar workers can adopt a business owner mindset, can sit there and think like an entrepreneur, even while they're just employed, not an employee owner, but just an employee. How do they think like an owner? Taking ownership, problem solving, seeing the whole picture, all of it, the kit and caboodle.
Yeah, so it's a deep question. I think that, the number one thing I think is like if you're going to step out, be an owner, or even if you're employed, everything's relational. It doesn't matter what business you're really in. Like it's primarily relational. Of course, unless you're just a pure software company. But that's the value of being a pure software company. It takes a lot of the relational element out of it, and that's why the valuation is so high in software, is because it's mass. And there's
never thought of that.
Yeah, people are subscribing. Like when you use Google Gmail or your, or whatever, or advertising within the Google search or whatever software it is, that value is growing not because of one person or some sort of deep relationship. And so it's just kind of taken off. It's spread across mass. But in most all businesses, it's relational. And so I think that if you use that, if you are working or in business, and that relationship must absolutely 100% be so significant to you.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't have to be in order to go in business. That's the big problem. Is that that's my frustration. That's been a lot in the industry that you're in. Is in my experience as somebody that a consumer.
Yep.
I pull out my wallet. I've worked really hard on my cash. Now I'm going to give you this cash to provide a service. And my deal is that you might be really good. You have capability, but what I've seen so many times is that there's not a reciprocating value back to me as somebody that's providing the cash. And so the relationship should be really simple, like it's basically like you can go back to the dawn of time, like the bartering system or whatever. Like you do business with people you like and trust and that take care of you. You like to provide services to somebody that has the cash and that will pay on time.
That's right. Number one.
But the thing is a lot of times I see it doesn't get reciprocated. It's like, okay, I don't get told when things are being done. I don't get told when things are costing more. I don't get told when there's hiccups in the timeline. My project's not getting done. I don't understand what happened there. This communication. And so I feel my value is really low in the tunnel. Oh, and then by the way, if you get a better job, you're out. Job hopping,
a lot of common.
And there's mystery behind all that. And, there's just...
The job hopping, I can clear that up for you. It's all about cash flow.
Yeah, sure.
100%. No, but the rest of it, man, you're on something.
I get it. And then, but the cash flow impacts my timeline. So anyway, we can go into that. But I think that the thing about it is that there's a lot of, and then there's some short-sightedness of where I'm literally just a payer of a project versus a long-term relationship, because the value of what I have is I have other people in my network that need the same service, and I can connect that. And if you make me extraordinarily happy,
which is hard to do,
if you make me really happy there's a foundational thing I read a long time ago. I don't know what the book's called, but you don't really want happy or great customer, very satisfied customers. You want raving fans.
You want campaigners, man.
Campaigners. And so
within your team and your customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if you're in business for yourself and you don't see it as that, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're going to experience business is only problems. They're either good or bad. And short-sightedness is if you're my customer and your expectations are really high and I don't satisfy those because you're pissing me off and you don't understand my business and my cash flow problems. So I'm doing things that you don't understand, but you're barking at me. I get agitated with you and I'm like, oh, you're only paying me $10,000 for this job, but I got somebody else paying me $100,000. So I devalue that relationship. But what I've done is I've shot myself in the foot for the extra $250,000 in jobs you're going to be able to get me by being a raving fan.
100%, dude. I literally, every single one of these episodes has me going, relationships is everything. Relationships is everything. And it truly isn't, but at the same time, it is.
Absolutely.
It literally goes down to the basics of, any of you guys listening can go meet a guy tomorrow that has a problem that you're really good at fixing, and he can put you in there, fund it, and take off, and you just created a whole new career. But a lot of what Eric's hinting at is literally industry struggle. You come from a very over-communicative, scheduling, a lot of, dude, I didn't even know what a NAT chart was until 4 months ago. Like, don't get me wrong, we run off Excel schedules, but the NAT specific, what it does, maybe from the Walmart sector, but it's not just that, it's industry broad. The way you guys communicate, it is like Stone Age where we're at in communication, and I agreed with you through that. And it may not be your communication, but like I just sat here on an episode yesterday, I was literally talking with Chris Maestri, with an engineer who's a lot of my issues, but we communicate really well. It's not about verbal communication. It is, hey, want to make sure you're okay. I want to understand your problems. I want to make sure that personally this relationship is going to last. Okay, we've had that phone call. We've made some decisions, follow up directly with an email. May not be within 24 hours, but make sure that email gets across. Everybody's understood. Let's move forward. But then guess what? Once that email is out and things change from that email, what Eric is mentioning to you guys, and I'm telling you, heed his warning, straight up, hey, guy, topsoil's pushed out a couple of days. Can't get this machine here. Everything's going to be pushed back a couple of days. You're going to be much more responsive to that rather than pulling up to the job and going, what the hell is going on?
Oh, yeah.
What? I thought we just talked about this on Monday.
100%.
And things in our world, literally, having a meeting just before I came here, everything changes every 5 minutes in our world because we live in a very uncontrollable world. We're installers. We're civil installers. And you architectural guys, you guys would say the same things as you're building a building. Well, the architect didn't see this coming, but it's our job as professionals to reach out to the engineer and go, hey man, look, I'm seeing this. Here's a couple of solutions. It's literally the exact episode we just did yesterday. Here's a couple solutions. How quick can you get me a viable solution checked off, approved by you? Well, I like that solution, Si. Anyways, I went a little bit further into that, but the second point you're already hitting on, and I'd love to get your feedback on, is common communication breakdowns between the blue-collar sector and the white-collar sector. And I've kind of already talked about it, guys, is, we're used to our level of communication, and then we get in with a heavy GC, and we're like, man, they're wanting so much out of us in the admin department. And it's really just scheduling and submittal logs and a little bit extra. But when you start moving out from the GC world and you start dealing and you want these, for a long time I couldn't figure out, I would get one of these investors, developers, and I would get a hold of them. We'd do a job together. Job went perfect, communication went perfect. But here comes that next one, and I didn't sell my product of time to them on the first one, obviously, because why am I not just the sole reason on the second job? Because that bugs me. When they're using somebody else on the second one, that bugs me, as it should every single one of you. To Eric's point of, doesn't matter if there's $100K over here. If I've already paid you $500K, come finish the $10K worth of job, $10K worth of work. So talk a little bit about what maybe not just problems within it, but maybe a few solutions.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be stated that everybody struggles with the communication, and I think that there's a good relation on the, in the white collar sector of, like, you take a computer scientist and an engineer or programmer, right? The programmer or coder loves to be behind the computer coding. It's the same thing as you loving being in the field working, right, and digging and making shit happen.
Yep.
The last thing that this programmer wants to do is to go have meetings with their, the internal teams and go talk to a client.
That's right.
Right? And so you can be a coder that stays in that world, and you can be somebody that works in the field and doesn't want to communicate outside. But the problem lies is whenever you have a coder or somebody in the field that doesn't want to do that, and then they don't communicate, and so their world stays isolated, and then they don't get the opportunities to advance, and then that person's also frustrated about not advancing in opportunities. Yep. So it's kind of back to the original question is if you're starting a business, it doesn't matter what kind, if you're wanting to grow yourself, if you're wanting to accumulate more wealth, if you're wanting to break out of a lot of the problems that are related in business and grow out of them, you cannot be the coder in the black hole dungeon, and you can't be the person in the field just working the field.
You can't.
You cannot do it. And it's a paradox where it leads to multiple frustrations. A, your clients are frustrated because you're not communicating. They don't understand what's going on because you live in your black box. And then B, you're frustrated because you think you deserve and earn more because you work so hard. It's somebody that's in a field that's working 12 hours a day in the field, freaking killing it and is doing a great job. But in comes freaking Eric's punk ass driving up, and I paid money, and I'm all upset because of all the things that haven't been done, and I don't recognize your 12 hours of work that you did that day. But the problem isn't that you didn't do a good job. The problem isn't that I have unreasonable expectations. The problem is that there's no communication
100%
about what's going on. And written in communication and continuous repetitive communication. So I would say that the solve is do you have the coder and do you have the person in the field? If they have 12 hours in a day, are they spending 12 hours of that working in the black box, or are they spending 10 hours or 8 hours and they're spending the rest of the time communicating their value? You have to dedicate that time. That's the difference between a coder that advances into a senior developer, that advances into a director, that advances into VP. When you look at big...
Same in our world.
Same thing in your world.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing. And so, but when the coder is trying to, like, if you have a coder that's absolutely fantastic and can program anything under the sun, and they're like, I want to go start my own business, I don't give a crap how good they are. If they're not going to be good communicators, they're not going to have a good business.
Same thing, dude. Same thing. It's all about communication. But like, I've got a superintendent that's been with me almost 4 years. Yeah, he just hit his 4 years. And first 2 years, dude, he wouldn't even say a word. Would not say a word. But man, he could run a track like dude I'd never seen. Could get things done, but wouldn't communicate that they're done, or that he hit a issue, or nothing. And then he trained another guy kind of the same way. Now, with a little bit of systems from the leader side of the table, you have got to enact some processes and procedures for these guys to actually, fly and succeed in. And if you don't, you're just going to fail yourself. But man, once you do, that same guy, 2 years, dude, that guy calls me probably more than anybody. Hey, man, but with the right problems for me to solve.
Yeah.
Like, he's handling a lot in the field itself, but now documenting it so that I can see it as well. But I can have a freaking bad to the bone operator, can run people, but if he can't fill out a daily log and an equipment sheet, I know he's not going to be able to send an email to an engineer.
No.
And so that's just like to your coder. Like, if you just want to code, that's cool, but you try and go out and you're already missing the other piece, whether you build resentment or not. And until you, as the operator or the coder, step out, now, to Eric's point, needs to be up to the leadership to provide you enough time to step out and to start channeling that direction, whether it be white collar, blue collar, etc. But if you're going to move up, it's not about the things that you do good at right now. It's the things that you're crappy at that you have to improve. And then all of a sudden somebody sees that, man, I've been seeing some great emails from so-and-so. Like, where did this come from? Well, boss, so...
Well, I think that one point to this too, to give some encouragement is like, I mean, I encourage a coder the same way. Like, there's not any, you don't have to be a gifted presenter. There's a difference between a communicator and a professional presenter, right? You don't have to be some extroverted, bold personality to communicate well. You just have to have you have to understand the value of it, and you make time for it. And then you just practice it, and then you get better over time. Again, be patient with yourself. Like, if it could be as simple as, like, none of us really have time. Do we make the time to do things? It's a discipline. And that discipline comes from a vision of saying, you know what, all I do is work in the field, and I can't break through my glass ceiling, and I'm pissed off at everybody about it. Well, do you take ownership and being like, can you start looking at yourself and your own problems first before you start blaming all your bosses and all your clients and all your partners and the subcontractors and the other companies that are coming in? Just be the best at yourself, and you can. And how do you improve yourself? And you will break through all kinds of glass ceilings. The glass ceilings are existing because you don't have the introspection to improve yourself. And on all this, like, on the simplicity of it, it is just simply like, you have to know who you're communicating to. There's a difference between communicating to your team internally, which can be just purely verbal, on site, communicate and get clarity on what you're doing. Okay, sounds good. Then we act. But when it comes to the person that's paying the bills, you have to abide by their standardization of communication.
Yes.
And
adapt to it.
Like, But what most people that are paying the bills, they're going to want simple communication. So give me high level bullet points. I don't want to read 2 paragraphs. That's impressive to me if I really want to dig in and understand that there's something behind. You're not feeding me full of crap, but I usually don't want to see that. I just want to see bullet points that I can read an email or a text message within 5 seconds, and I feel a lot of this is emotional.
Yeah.
I feel the comfort that you have shit under control.
Every time you're spending money, though, bro, you're going to be emotional about it. Like,
Absolutely.
no matter what, if you've got money leaving your bank account and you're paying it as a client, you are going to have some emotions to deal with.
100%.
And every type of ownership is different. Sometimes I've got 5 of you to keep happy all together working on a multifamily, or down to a solo guy working on his forever home.
Yeah.
So you have to be adaptable. No, I think that's very encouraging.
You can create a process that satisfies all of them, but then the delivery is just the customization of
That's good, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Super good. Yes. No, I know exactly what you're saying.
You know, and I mean, like, if we're talking about somebody like advancing in their job as in blue collar, or they're starting a blue collar type business. And when we say that, I'm just thinking like
Skilled trades.
Skilled trade. Yeah. I mean, like, it's, you know, man, and I would tell you too, like, the value of that is going to continue to, like, the value of your trade will continue to increase as less people are involved in the trade. The demand side,
Man, they're dropping like flies.
demand side's growing, supply side's shrinking. That means that's good news.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, can you be the best that you can be in that?
Also, too, though, I would say to that, it gives room for more disdain from the crappy contractors that are out there. Like, you've dealt with a few of those, and they are like not even close to getting it in general, let alone having a few nitpicky polishing things that we need to polish up. But like, it's yeah.
Dude, that a lot of, you know, there's a common thread into the folks that I've experienced that are not good business people is the same thing I'd experience like when I hire a white collar marketing agency. What's the ambition of the person that's behind that driving it? Do they really give a crap about the relationship? Do they really give a crap about growing? Are they trying to grow a business, or did they get into it because they see this phantom life of where
Money and time.
money, yeah, I don't work very hard, but I make a shit ton of money, and life is great in this paradise, and I'm taking vacations. Let me tell you something. Like, if you are alive, you're supposed to be working really hard, and you have that ethic. And if you're trying to start a business, it takes a crap ton of energy. Like, and you're not
All of your energy.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's like a sacrifice. And if you're going to try to earn more money, people that earn more money work really, 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 really hard. They don't take a lot of vacations. And if they do, they're multitasking their vacation. And
The entire time.
the entire time. I mean, it's like,
Pisses off mama.
I mean, but hey, you know, you got to, man, and you got, it just requires hard work. And what I hate to see is somebody that works really hard and is good at what they do, but they don't see the value in communicating. And that's what puts the glass ceiling on them.
But you're exactly right, dude. I mean,
you could add 10% of communication and remove a glass ceiling that puts you into a whole different category
literally
of earning
yeah.
within 3 months.
90-day cycles, man. I preach it to my guys all the time. I just had a few conversations, you know, with a guy that was struggling as a superintendent, and I'm like, hey, man, look, you're not this level of caliber like you presented yourself, and hey, man, I would love to have you. You're a likable guy. Everybody gets along with you, but you suck at what you do.
Yeah.
And I can teach you what you need to do. And sometimes those conversations are hard as a businessman. You may like them. You don't want to have it. It is what it is. But when your team is yelling this one person's name nonstop, you've got to do something.
Yeah,
and if you don't, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But to your point earlier about, man, I cannot emphasize that enough, that you can change your life in 3 months' time, in 90 days of really, really hard work. Not 8 to 5. 8 to 5 is for getting by. 5 to 8 is for getting ahead. And you've got to spend time after 5 o'clock. Blue collar guys, maybe.
Or before 8 o'clock.
Before 8 o'clock.
5 a.m. to 8 a.m. maybe.
I know I'm speaking to, a lot of guys like myself, they got young kids and they're just trying to support their family, and you feel like you got to be there for every small event. And I encourage you, please do. But at the same time, there's that line of, I can't sleep at work because I need to put food in her mouth.
Man, I think that we tell ourselves lies that there's something easier. There's
I do all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. These damn investors, right? They just sit around and put money in and they don't have to work the job, but then they get paid back. I mean, there's some truth to the fact that if you got money and you continue to make more money, but I mean, I don't know when the last time that you took $1,000 in cash and you walked over somewhere and you're like, I'm going to put $1,000 here. And I know for sure that this water bottle is going to return me back 1,500 next month or next year. Like, there's a gamble to that. And you're gambling, so there's a lot of stress that becomes associated with having risk. If you have more money, you have more stress. I mean, and you have more shit, buy more stuff, you have more stuff to take care of. And it's all difficult, and I think that, the big thing is that just get it out of your mind that somebody has it so much easier and better and faster and smoother than you do. It's really not a truth. There's pros and cons to everything. But if you are in that skill trade, right, and you really know how to work the backhoe, or you know how to work the dozer, and you're really good at that, like, there is some substantial value to what you have spent your time in. And if you do enjoy doing that, now your choice is do I want to get even better at what I'm doing?
Take Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then that getting better can be going into territory of, I need to be a better communicator to my team internally and helping the client. If I work for you and I'm really good at my backhoe, digging, right? Mm-hmm. And I just do a good job. I show up. I do the basics. I show up. I work diligently. I do need breaks. I need all those things, right?
No lunch.
Right. Yeah, I don't need a lunch. No, that's obvious, right?
Yeah.
But I do a good job at that. And then all of a sudden you hear from me, hey, Si, listen, or I send you a text at 4 p.m. every day. Here's the recap of what I did. Here's my day tomorrow and what I expect to have done tomorrow. And I think that we're on timeline for this project. And I do that every day. And it takes me the extra 30 minutes. Will there be implicit more value on me than there will be for the rest of the team?
100%, man.
Will you consider giving me a bonus?
Oh, of course.
Would you consider
a
promotion and raise? Would you do more to make sure that I stay on your team? Would you send me holiday cards and gifts?
Bet.
Right? Would you send me on a vacation just to keep me happy and to know that you appreciate me, so you encourage me to keep doing more of that thing? Everybody happy, everybody wins.
Yeah. And we broke it down so elementary earlier this year. This was a Sarah requirement. She was so sick and tired of hearing, well, I ain't got this at 10 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean you don't have this at 10 o'clock in the morning? You could have taken care of this. And I mean, this is back when I had a separate leader, a different leader running project management. And we had a sheet, literal, every single day. They had to fill it out at the end of the day, what they needed tomorrow, who they needed, what iron, what manpower, any material they needed bought, and send this into me and Sarah's inbox every single day. You had to, or you wouldn't. Your guys would go home the next day.
Yeah.
But no, just kind of to that point, like, you've met Sam. Sam is an over communicator.
Yep.
But it's in his communication form. He's not super adaptable at figuring out, hey, Eric wants to see communication like this.
Yeah.
You're communicating the right information, just not in a specific delivery of the custom situation that we're in, right? But you want to talk about a guy who stepped up, man.
Yeah.
That dude is something else in the communication game.
But man, I think, dude, I'm like 47 or 48, 46 or something like that. And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21, 22 years old. Dude, I'm still growing. I'm still learning. 100%. There's so much I don't understand. There's so much I don't do well. There's ways that I can improve. I mean, like, all of us can continue just to kind of get better and better and better and better. But you've got to be that person. If you're listening, you absolutely can improve. You absolutely can earn more money.
100%.
You absolutely can grow But are you willing to do that? Do you want that for yourself? Because what I have seen so much, what just seems to be in your industry are folks that don't want to do that versus what I've seen more in the the white collar business industry where there's these people that do want to do, but the difference is slight. The difference is slight because on the white collar side, I see a lot of people faking it till they make it, or bullshitting around, using propaganda, using freaking reputation, freaking marketing and campaigning. It's like you find a lot of snakes in there that
quickly,
real quick that literally just are not who they say they are or not good at what they say they're doing.
Same thing in the blue collar sense. Just like I was discussing, I got a guy shows up. I'm King Dick operator. I've been doing this since you were a Nopper. I can't tell you how many times I've had old men walk up and they don't get a job. Like, I don't want somebody that is, look, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You have skilled tradesmen out there that are masters of their craft. And they're working for, say we're working for Eric, everything's been going great, 3-5 years down the road. Man, we hit some year that's hard. 2024 was hard on every business. Screw this, I'll just go do this myself.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 2 years, he's sitting there talking to Eric again. Hey, man, can I have my job back? I just can't get no work. They won't pay me. Well, what happens is, just like you were speaking about that coder that doesn't want to push and learn, the same thing with skilled trades guys. You're a master trim guy and you work for so-and-so and you pick up a check every week as payroll. But now you're like, I can buy a trailer. I can do this. I can do that. Well, then there's this whole other sector to business that you haven't even been introduced to yet. And you're fixing to take a fire hose, an 8-inch fire hose directly at your face for every single day that your eyelids are even open. You won't be able to sleep. And you're either going to succeed or fail, and you're going to use that as a driver to fail or succeed, right? Failure is the biggest thing, one of my worst fears in life, so success was easier for me to drive for. But I can't tell you, I've seen it in my little 9-year entrepreneurial career here. I've seen it where guys have started 3 businesses and failed because they're not entrepreneurs. They're masters of their craft. And I know you've met coders and you've met people through your years that are masters of their craft. And you're like, man, you're so good at what you do. If you could just send a proper freaking email, dude, I could have you doing this, this, and this. And they're like, yeah. And they just never do it.
Yeah.
You lay guidelines out for them. You lay processes and procedures, and they do absolute minimal basics to ensure that they've done the process, but they're not learning from the process. And I see that all the time. But real quick, guys, if you're loving this episode and every other episode, you can find them all at bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com. If you're listening to us on a streaming platform, make sure you give us a rating or a follow. But don't have to have a subscription service to listen to us. You can listen to us all online at bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com. The audio and visual is both on that platform. So we've been kind of hinting around about this, but we've literally been discussing it in full. But how do they identify, say it is that coder, say it is their own self, and they are right there on the brink of trying to figure out these self-realizations, right? Of, man, I'm really a terrible communicator. I've been doing this 6-7 years, and everybody keeps quitting or firing because they don't want to be on my team. Like, what's the deal? So how do we identify and then leverage the skills? I think we've discussed that in length already, but as a blue-collar business that is trying to use the white collar industry as clients per se, like myself, it's such a gap. Like I'm pretty good at talking to folks, and it's still extremely challenging for me to line up with their pocketbook from the white collar sense. And I think you hit on it as communication, but how do we identify the skills as a blue collar guy that we're failing at, whether employee or entrepreneurial based? How do we start to enact and leverage them quickly?
So here's what I learned.
Okay.
Because I've had to learn, like, kind of the same vein. Like, I mean, like if I had my company, I'm working with Walmart. Well, there's a big difference between my company and how big and sophisticated Walmart is. Right. So there's like levels. I think that there's something to be understood that even in the white collar setting of that there's lots of different levels. And so if you're a small business on the white collar side, you have to know how to level up and communicate with folks that have way more tenure than you do, you know? But what I found is, and this is a really simple thing that I think can be helpful, is just think in bullet points, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Like, be very simple in bullet points. And then, you know, think as like a, you know, like these are social post bullet points, right? They're like the X criteria of 80 characters, you know, or it's now, it's not 80 characters.
I'm not an X guy. I think it's 120. Actually.
Yeah, it's much higher than that. Edit that out. I'm thinking of a jackass.
Please.
But anyway, but you know, think in just like bullet points, very short statements and factual statements. You don't need to fluff it. You don't need to, you know, make it perfect. Just, you know, think in those bullet points and give that. Reread your work. That's a huge one. Like every single, like, listen, man,
email,
every single email that I ever send on planet Earth, it doesn't make a god dang who it is. Every text message that I send
subliminally
does not, I specifically, intentionally take the time to reread that back to myself, and I copy edit myself contextually and punctual wise, spelling wise. If I don't know the spelling of it, I go to the internets and I make sure that it's the correct use of the word and whatever. That, you know, like the thing about it is that this freaking thing right here gives us, it has commoditized so much in our life about the ability to work with anyone under the sun. You can check everything on here. You can have, and if you're
translate to an entire different language.
Yeah, dude. It's like there's no longer this gap between what anybody that's, whether they're just coming out of college or they've been around for a long time. The gap of the difference is what I just said. Reread your work. Take pride in what you do. Do your best.
Be professional.
Be professional. Be professional. And
even if it's your body. Doesn't matter.
No, exactly.
You got a business to run.
You're a business person, and being professional and not making stupid mistakes, because what happens is that those silly, you know, lazy mistakes is what kills your credibility.
Yep.
You know?
I can't tell you how many times I've read an email. I'm in the blue collar side of things, but when a subcontractor or different contractor on site sends me an email and it's misspelled, no commas, no periods, I'm like, this dude don't even care about what I'm trying to tell him.
That's what it tells you.
Immediately.
It immediately tells you that you don't value you. So, like, let's get through some other things that are really simple. So, like, you need to just understand the basic forms of communication. And there's really not that many. There's phone calls, there's text messages, and then there's email.
It's about it in our world, buddy.
That's about it everywhere. That's how people want to be communicated with. It's the easiest way. And so all you now need to do is, like, those are not hard things to learn. You probably already know how to do every one of them, and you should participate in those channels. You should have an email account that has, and these are fundamentals, that has your @business name to it.
You have to.
And you use that, and you check it on a regular basis, and you got your phone, and you use these really simple, I mean, it's funny, like, but it's very simple, like, and then you know how I want to be communicated. Like, and it's a simple question. Hey, would you like for me to send you a text every day or an email every day? Or would you like for me to give you a call every day?
Yeah.
And when you call them, you have it written down in your bullet points, and you just verbalize your bullet points, you know? So those things are really simple. There's not much more complication to it than that.
You just got to start enacting it.
You got to start enacting it. And,
immediately.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, well, this maybe. I can't tell you how many guys I've met, dude, that will formulate this great plan. This is what I'm going to do. This is my solution. This is what I'm going to do. And it's so simplistic, and they never start. They just never start. And then it's 3 years down the road, and they're in the exact same spot that they were just in. And I'm like, dude, and I'm sitting here going, you have so much potential. You are this person in my mindset. If you would just level up just a little bit and show me a little bit of investment. That's it. Internally. Now, don't get me wrong. I've got a ways to go on as we venture out and deal with higher level clients and upper echelon levels. And it has been gone from working for plumbers to working for billionaires.
Yeah.
And it is a massive gap as the owner or the leader or the CEO or whatever you want to call us, me and Sarah as a team, but specifically myself. I've got to set forth a standard of how we're going to communicate to you guys, and then spin around, enact that, a process and procedure. Hey, this is the communication that we're going to use. It's not hard. I just need this information brought to me by this time every day. And then I can meet the client's needs very easily. But don't just, to you guys that are sitting there going, man, I don't got time for all that crap.
No, you have to, like, no one has the time.
No one does.
But the people that make the time and prioritize that time are the ones that are getting the jobs.
They're winners, dude.
They're just winning. They're just winning. I mean, it's the same thing on me. Like, if I want a big contract with a massive company, I'm going to have to step up and do those things that are expected.
In their communication avenues.
Exactly. And then they're going to have legal policies. I have to talk to the legal team. I have to write an RFP, a request for proposal, for that specific and the way that they have their operations, or I don't get to participate. I mean, it's just like there's no breakthrough in any of that.
That's right.
And the reason there's no breakthrough is because the more money that anybody has, the more they have to protect it, which means there's more legalities around it that's protect them, and insurance and all this other stuff. It compounds with the more money. And so if you're going to play ball with that and you want that, then you have to participate in the game, because in essence, you're protecting your client's money.
Think about it. If you're sitting here listening to us and you're, 500,000 million annual revenue, you got 3 or 4 guys. Think about what it would say when you did get the opportunity for the first time. Because I can remember one of the first times, and I botched it, bro. I'm a good communicator. Mm-hmm. Like, I pride myself in that. And I absolutely botched it because it wasn't the way they were used to communicating. I was over-communicating in the opposite way of the way they wanted to communicate. It's not the fact that I was communicating. It was just the delivery of the communication. And go ahead.
I'll tell you this. Like, so we've done work. You said earlier that I'm a client of yours. One of the biggest reasons that I awarded working with you on the job, it's so simple.
Yeah.
You jumped on a Google Meet.
And when, I remember this too, you were like, and it stuck out to me in your email, you were like, hey man, let's do a virtual meeting. And I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to tell you on a virtual meeting, bro? We're meeting out here on a mountain and we're literally transforming a mountain. So I had to go, okay, this is my opportunity. What's the best way to display it? I had a set of plans that you couldn't even read. Not being any way there, but you've literally said, hey man, you're going to show me some stuff on plans. I'm still learning. I'm very new to this, but I want to understand this. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay. So I grabbed a set of prints, jump on a Google Meet, and I'm like, hey, Eric, I know you got this amount of time. This is what I'm proposing we do. We do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. Even though I could tell that you may not have grasped it fully from that virtual, I had a plan. Mm-hmm. I knew how I was going to attack the job, and I displayed it to you in your communication method. Mm-hmm. So that's cool.
But again, for the simplicity of this,
sorry,
no. I mean, I think all that's relevant and correct. But I want to make the point is that you knew how to use Google Meet. You knew how, and like that was my request as somebody that like this is my life and this is how I'm communicating. You came and you were able to participate and meet my needs on how I communicate. That's exactly what we've been talking about. If I said, hey, let's meet on Google Teams or let's meet on Microsoft Teams, and you said no, then I'd be like, piss off.
I got time for you.
If I said, let's meet on Zoom, and you said no, but the point of that is that that's what it requires. You cannot say no. You cannot turn a blind eye. You cannot stiff arm the ways that your client is wanting to communicate. And when you do that, you are discrediting yourself. You're putting the burden back on your client. The client, I would rather, and everybody gets this that's listening, I would rather spend $1 with you and you make my life easier and my time easier all day long than spending 80 cents with somebody else that is not making my life easier.
No.
That's why Walmart grocery beats a lot of the other smaller groceries, because I can, the convenience of being able to go online, buy my products, and go pick it up just won that business.
Oh, yeah. do the same thing, and now they deliver it.
Oh, dude.
They'll have it to
Now
our
they have
shop in
drone.
like
I mean,
2
dude,
or
it's-
3 hours. It's nuts.
Doug McMillan said it best many years ago, convenience and time is just as much of a value to customers as money.
It is. And here's a blue collar sense for you. I owned a single axle dump truck. I could charge almost the same amount of money, and this is, yeah, I say this and I got rid of my single axle. I could charge almost the same amount of money as a 10-wheeler or as a tri-axle because I had this big truck that could move 8 tons of material, not 18 tons of material, but I could put it exactly where they needed for that pool install, or because I could fit in with this tiny little truck.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the same thing as you go up to a convenience store and you pay it used to be $1.89, now it's $2.89 for that 20-ounce soda. But you passed right by the 2 liters that are on sale for $1.50.
Yeah.
Why are you not buying that 2 liter? Because it's inconvenient and it doesn't fit in your freaking cup holder. It's that simple. It's all about convenience. And if you can provide that through your service, you win every freaking time. And so it's harder for this side of the table to grasp it because you either got it or you don't in the visualization of, hey, this customer, like I was just saying a moment ago, if you're doing $500,000, $1 million, and you step out and you communicate like that $5-10 million company, you're going to get opportunities just like that $5 and $10 million company. And you're going to be like, why are these people? It's simple. A little bit of communication.
This is all applicable if whether you're employed, whether you have your own business, or whether you're a subcontractor.
100%.
I mean, everybody wants and needs, it's not a want, it's a need for other people to communicate so that it makes their job easier to communicate to where the money's sourcing from.
Dude.
It's just that daggum simple. And if you don't want, and here's the good news, most of the people across all walks of life, most people want a passive, easy, rich, wealthy lifestyle, and that is 100% a lie.
Those don't even
It's 1,000% a lie. And even if you had that, you wouldn't be happy because there's no honor in what you do. I mean, just look at the Trustafarians. They got the heiresses, they got, or the heirs that get all this money and they don't have to work. They don't have that satisfaction and honor and pride of working. And so you can beat all those people out, which is a lion's share of everybody, especially in today's world when you got people that are, creating stupid videos and being millionaires.
Makes me so mad.
It
when
makes
I'm
you
bringing
mad.
value to the market.
Well, I know, but like the thing is everybody wants this like flamboyant, like lie life. And if you look at them, they're not even happy.
Nope.
And they don't have a game plan about what they're going to do because you're going to
They
be.
never needed one.
No, I mean, like, but it's going to be short lived, or it's going to be. But anyway, I mean, like, you can be so much better just by being somebody that's like, you know what, I want to improve. I want to be a better communicator. That's that simple.
It really is.
It is really that simple. And that comes in bullet points and just communicating through being able to communicate through text, voice, and email, and then being able to know what your clients in the industry is using. Are they using Google Meet? Or they, just
Teams, Zoom.
And don't be, and then if they say, yeah, I'll send you a Zoom meeting, my trick was always like, and I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll be there. And I'll be like, oh, what the hell's Zoom? I would go on to freaking YouTube and Google and Gemini and freaking go in there and research the shit out of it. You watch some videos and now you're a freaking pro.
Dude.
That's how easy it is.
Literally, that phone that's attached to our bodies all times of day and night.
Baby.
It is the tool to unlock every single lock. I can't tell you how many times I've met customers on their property and like, hey, you can do all this. I'm like, oh, yeah, man. Just walking away, YouTubing before I hit the truck, going, what in the hell did I just sign myself up for? But that's kind of leading into our kind of last topic of the day. Talking to those guys like myself that have never started with any capital, never felt okay. You know what I mean? Now, there is those, what I refer to as daddy's money, but there is some of those categories of daddy's money that, like myself and my son and my daughters, they're gonna hit the ditch, and we're gonna learn how daddy learned this, because we ain't just running a company. You have no idea about this company. You're gonna learn. So there's those guys out there. I'm not, when I say daddy's money, but I'm talking to what Eric just mentioned was, hey, here's a check, go start your company. Like that happens on the daily. But there is zero purpose after you're handed that money, what's other than just not let dad down. And got a pretty good feeling you probably have before, and that's why he's giving you the venture. So to begin with, but talking on funding and dude, capital, and you have some experience in the capital market and knowing how to accrue capital on the white collar side, but us blue collar guys, we don't even think that's a thing. Like we don't even think that's an opportunity, fundraising, or like, why is it able to be used on this side but not on this side? And you're talking to subcontractors that are sitting there waiting on literally today, day 79 on the first pay up of a job that's completed and you've billed twice on and you still haven't been paid on. And how do they keep cash flow? Everybody wants to preach cash flow at us, but nobody wants to freaking teach us cash flow. How do we procure funding, resource challenges for the blue collar guy, skilled tradesman that is a master of his craft? He's learning as quickly as he possibly can in the business regard, like myself, but wants to ensure that money isn't affecting his business every day. I know it's kind of a backloaded question.
Yeah, it's a significant one. I mean, and I know I'm running out of time too. So
you got all the time in the world. You own this place, big guy.
No, I have a meeting though. I do have the one. Man, I would say. I mean, I'd be happy to come back on again. Let's unpack that a lot because I think there's a lot to that. There's a lot of ways to navigate.
They need it. They need it.
Oh, totally. And I think we all kind of do, right? And I think that there's been, I would agree with you that there's more capital opportunities outside of the traditional blue collar industry. I think that there is significant opportunity in blue collar industry if you can understand how that capital industry is working and what they're really wanting. What are the
which
people
we do not?
Well, yeah, but you get so much opportunity in technology.
Yes, we do.
So much opportunity in technology, so much opportunity, and you gotta, if you're wanting to access capital, you gotta think of scalability. That's the number one thing. That's why technology works. It's not because it is technology. It's because technology is scalable. People pay for, they pay to get a return on their investments. Like our Google example we used earlier. Like you take the. If I can invest in something that compounds and scales, and that's where the return back to me is at. It's not the fact that it's specifically tech. It's just that tech allows for scalability. So
simple scalability usually too.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't have to be massive. I mean, like if there was something that you came and you're like, hey man, look, for $10,000, but I can take this and I can do this thing, but there's all this market that I know that's there and it will be an easy sell. I mean, it makes sense to me, there's way, like that scalability is really important when it comes for capital investment. But nonetheless, I think that the biggest rule of thumb, and this is one that's often overlooked by everybody, is what is the number one easiest, best, most affordable, most available form of capital that there is? It's your customer. And we look at our customer like there's something else other than capital. They're really not. And they're the most available. It's like I should be able to, if I have a trade or I have a skill set, if I have a backhoe that I have, or if I have a freaking wheelbarrow and a shovel,
or electrician with some S10 and some tools.
Yeah. If I have those simple things and I am going to do good work, I should be able to go get capital for that. Meaning I can go and I just go and ask and I show up and I communicate and I just show up. That capital that I'm getting directly from the customer is the best capital because it has only one string attached, which is the job. It has no stress and pressure other than doing the job.
That's right.
And it's very controllable, and there's a lot more out there. So if you're looking to start a business and you want capital, you really, your capital thinking needs to be in the mind of, I need to go get sales and make that work. Because if you can accomplish that, then you have freedom. Because all the other forms of capital come with some massive string, whether that's a loan from the bank, or whether that's from a group of investors or that's mom and dad or it's a friend and family. Like friends and family is the most dangerous form of capital.
Terrible.
It may be accessible, but bro, you can screw up everything, and dude, like if I have an idea, which I have one that I do need additional capital from. And so I'm going to look at VCs or I'm looking at whatever groups. I'm more nervous about borrowing their money. I mean, that makes me super nervous because now once I get the cash, I have to perform at a level that meets that. Dude, it's like time clock is on. And by the way, I've seen this happen. You can't piss around with that. You're talking about if you start doing things wrong in that realm, you got some legal problems.
Quickly.
Very quick, and that you didn't even know existed.
And very sharp people that know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, bro, they already got their attorney stacked.
Yeah.
I mean,
VC stands for venture capital.
Venture capital, yeah.
Yep.
Very, very and I mean, I got a couple of fun, capital groups that would love to come on the show and we could have a good dialogue on it. But I mean,
oh, dude, we need
very, very dangerous, expectations there, and you can find yourself in a ball of wax that you never. But all the while, if you just go to your customers, if you just made 5 more calls, you might have the capital you need.
Dude, you are 100% hitting the nail on the head.
I'll tell you, and I'm living proof of it. With WhyteSpider, we started with $850 in the bank account, and then we built a company from there, and never took outside capital.
That's
never took it. Sold it, and I had a little bit over 50. My partner had the rest. 2 people on the cap table, and because we never took outside capital. And we ran and built our business, and we built it from our clientele by providing good work, communicating, adapting with the times, just working our butts off. But you know what? We had to work a lot harder, and I had to sacrifice a lot. I had to take some risks, but I didn't have somebody that was going to say, hey, man, you're all done.
Yeah.
And by the way, you owe as much money. And then by the way,
we're going to sink your company so you can't get any money back so you can pay us off, and we're just going to own your life.
You own everything, and everyone's going to know about it.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Use your customer.
Best capital you can have, man.
100%. Just and sales is everything.
Sales is everything.
I literally made a YouTube video on 5 things you should know before starting an excavation company. It's up on YouTube. Went up yesterday. Had ridiculous response. And number 1 was know your purpose of why you're trying to do this, and it better not be time and money. The second thing was sales. Everything.
Sales.
Number 3 would be know your cost.
Yeah.
And then number 4 is pick your equipment. And if you're doing rental rates, and then number 5 is do profitable work. And a little bit of stuff that I've learned from you. But last thing taken away, brother, I can't thank you enough for your time and the dialogue that has been fantastic, and I know is going to help so many folks. But what's a takeaway? I ask everybody on this show before they hit the door on the exit, what's a takeaway for the blue-collar worker who's just sick and tired of being stuck in the mud? And that's not, not thinking of Sycon and the guys in the ditches that are stuck in the mud. I'm talking about mentally, physically, and emotionally. A lot of these guys are, especially through 2024, they didn't have enough money at home to even keep the needs met, let alone do anything wants. But where are they at, and what would you give them a simple little key thought that they haven't even thought of?
I would say that, like, my experience has been, is that you've got to spend time with yourself and recognize your insecurities. And your lack of self-confidence.
It's deep, dude.
Dude, it's really deep, but I mean, everybody struggles with it. We're all humans. I mean, we've all made a lot of mistakes, but we can all make a change, and it takes everything in your gut being to do that. I've been in some really dark holes myself. I mean, whether you call it depressed, whether you call it anxious or whatever, panicking, I mean, it doesn't matter.
It's all 3 wrapped in one.
Yeah, man, it's a hard world. There's a lot of force against what you're doing, but you have the power to think your own thoughts, and that's one of the greatest gifts that we have, and it's true to everybody. And you can, like, looking, are you just insecure? What are you angry about? What are you scared about? And kind of look at those things and then affirm yourself out of it, because you do have, I mean, you're here for a purpose,
Gotta have that purpose, dude.
And you got to nail that. Like you got to consistently nail that. there's a lot to that, right? There's a lot to writing down goals and objectives and having dreams. Don't stop dreaming. Don't stop moving.
Don't let the business crush you where you normally entrepreneurs are dreamers and visionaries. And man, being in the entrepreneur seat and being the CEO and the leader, man, it crushes you quickly and crushes your dreams and your hopes, and you just get into it so deep. But encouraging thought there, man. Deal with them insecurities. And a lot of your insecurities, like myself, will drive you to success.
Sure.
If you don't drive you to a version of success. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you can ignorantly. I agree. That's a good point, because I look back.
That's what I did, man.
I was very naive and ignorant in my youth, to where my insecurities were driving me to greater heights.
100%.
But then you get at a certain age, and then they creep up in the work, and they actually have these ceilings that you just can't get past. But anyway,
literally, thank you for your time, guys. If you love this episode, check us out, bluecollarbusinesspodcast.com, or if you're listening to us on any streaming service, I really appreciate your time today, and give us a rating and a follow. And if you found any value out of this, make sure you drop a like if you're watching us on YouTube. But man, Eric, it sounds like we're going to have a couple more.
Let's have some more.
Couple more sessions. And if you haven't checked out Big Talk a Small Business.com, you need to. That's where Eric and another wonderful human being that's on this planet, Mark Zweig, sit and discuss. I've been on there before, but there is plentiful to help you guys in the business realm, and a lot more on the white collar side. So check that out. And
Big Talk About Small Business.
Big Talk About Smallbusiness.com. I'm going to write that down. But thanks, guys. And until next time, be safe and be kind and be humble. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.